Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel.
In and out, in and out, in and out. Arguing, trifling, difficult. Let more. I don't know why you love me.
So today, pretty much, so I've been getting a lot of questions in my DMs, like on TikTok and on freaking Instagram, like just a lot of DMs, a lot of people reaching out to me or asking me about like, just to describe what, like they love animals, right? But they don't know what to do with that. Like what's more after loving animals, right? So this video is really for my pre-vet babies or my high school babies that don't know what they want to do but know they love animals. Because I think sometimes when people say, oh, veterinarian, it gets a little scary, right? Because they're like, but how do I get there? And I think the one thing I always hated when I was an undergrad and when I was in high school is that nobody told me how to get there. They were willing to mentor me, but then veterinarians are so busy, so they don't really get the opportunity to be a mentor like they want to be. So I feel like since I have some downtime before my exam tomorrow, just make a video to kind of help out my people that are just kind of, confused and don't know what this is or what they're doing or whatever the case is. I have a whole, y'all see my list. Okay, it's long, but we're going to make it more condensed. So basically, what is the point of going to veterinary school? Why would somebody want to go to veterinary school? Like, why? What's the difference between a veterinary and a vet tech? A lot of people just don't know that. So I'm going to go ahead and explain the difference between the two. A vet tech is pretty much like the veterinarian's nurse. So pretty much when you have a vet tech, they can go to school to be a vet tech, and sometimes there's some unlicensed vet techs that just get experience because somebody owns a private practice and they just want to let you get experience. You don't have to be licensed, but a lot of companies like Banfield or NVA, sometimes they want you to be licensed. Usually licensed vet techs get paid more. Like being a registered nurse, you get paid more for being a registered nurse, and most times they don't let you practice on people without your license. So vet med is a little different in terms of that, but sometimes you can get away with being an unlicensed vet tech like I was. I wasn't licensed, but I still was technically like half tech, half assistant, half receptionist. I did literally everything when I was in a clinical setting, right? When you decide to go to veterinary school, what you're signing up for is a lot of school. Shout out me, right? You can choose the vet tech route. And if you choose the vet tech route, you don't have to go to as much school. You might still need school. You got to pass a certain type of vet tech exam. And then you'll be a licensed veterinary technician, right? Or veterinary assistant, whatever those. They're pretty kind of synonymous, but vet assistants do a little bit less than vet techs. Think of your vet assistant as somebody who's not licensed and your vet tech as somebody who's licensed. Basically, the veterinarian is the person who calls all the shots, right? The veterinarian is the one that does the surgery. The veterinarian is the one that prescribes medications or diagnoses patients. We don't really do a lot of the hands-on technicianal stuff in certain places. Like for example, at Banfield, your veterinary technicians and veterinary assistants are doing a lot of the work because of the fact that they are the ones that learn the clinical skills and the hands-on stuff. We still learn it because we have to correct the vet techs if they're wrong, but veterinarians don't do it as much. Most veterinarians don't do anesthesia unless they sign up to be a veterinary anesthesiologist. You have to go to more school for that after veterinary school. So it's kind of like you got to kind of pick your poison. There's a lot of branches of veterinary medicine in general. You don't even have to go to the GP section. You could go to the large animal section. You could go to the governmental section. There's so many paths to taking vet med. So don't just think that you're confined to being in a clinical practice, because you're not. You can do a lot with your DVM if you decide to go to veterinary school. And DVM just stands for Doctorate of Veterinary Medicine. So when you go to veterinary school, you're getting your doctorate degree, which is why it's another 4 years and not another 2 years like your regular master's, because you're not getting a doctorate when you get a master's degree. There y'all go for that little tidbit right there. So how do you even get into veterinary school in the first place? What does that look like? What do I have to do to get there? Because I love animals. I want to sign up to be a veterinarian. What do I do? Before going to vet school, you would need your GED or your diploma from high school. Then you have to go to an accredited 4-year anniversary. Jalea, it's too early. You have to go to a 4-year accredited university, not anniversary, university. And different schools have different majors, right? So I went to Towson, T-U-alum. I went to Towson, and Towson had a pre-veterinary track. So You want to, when you're picking your undergrads, for my high school babies, when you're picking your undergrad to go to your college, you want to make sure, if you decide to do veterinary medicine, that your college of choice has some type of biology degree, which most of them do. Pre-vet, to be more specific, if you can get a pre-veterinary degree, that'd be great. I know like your agricultural schools do, like North Carolina A&T. They have like an animal science degree. That's something that's a little bit more focused in the terms to a biology degree. Like biology, I have a biology degree. I don't have a pre-veterinary animal science degree because I don't think Towson had that. But I do have, they don't have it in a degree. They have it in a major, but not in a degree form, if that makes sense. So I just have a plain biology degree, but my concentration in my focus biology degree is functional biology of animals. So that's how you know my biology degree is more focused in a concentration that's pertaining to veterinary medicine, even though I don't have an animal science degree. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does. So pretty much you want to pick your undergrad with specifics to your major. You want to make sure that you're picking something that can be pertained to veterinary med. And worst case comes to worst, if you can't find anything with the animal science that's, you know, in state or that you can afford, you can just get a plain biology degree. You don't even need to get an animal focused degree like an animal science or marine biology. Like, it doesn't matter. As long as it's science based, you should be fine. So for the people that say, you know, I don't really want to go to an accredited university, I don't really want to get my degree in biology first, right? You don't have to. That's the beautiful thing about vet med, and that's not about human medicine, because humans suck. Not too much, but just a little bit. With vet med, you don't necessarily need a degree. You can not have a degree in biology. What you could do is you just have to take all the prerequisites required to get into veterinary school. So if you do your research ahead of time and you're like, okay, I know that I'm going to need biochemistry class or a organic chemistry class, you can literally just sign up and pay to take those classes and never get your degree. Like, you don't have to get a degree. You just have to have the set prerequisites to apply to vet school. That's it. There's people that have arts degrees in veterinary school that's not biology, and you're like, okay, so why did you choose vet med? Because you chose art like in undergrad, but they took all of their like prereqs required to get into veterinary school. So you don't necessarily need a degree in biology. You really just need the classes and prerequisites required to get into school and to be approved, to show you have your accredited hours of taking those classes and know the skill sets to get into veterinary school. So I'm pretty sure you're wondering, so why would you even get a biology degree when you could have probably come out cheaper just taking the classes? Yes and no. I think sometimes when you're not a full-time student in certain colleges, being a part-time student does cost more sometimes, instead of just paying that full outright cost. Okay, so like, you know, you can even take your classes at a community college if they have every single requirement that you need to get into veterinary school. You don't really have to go to a four-year university, but it's easier to find a school and go to a four-year university and get your degree because they already have all those classes in a major, which is why you have the biology major. It's just more convenient to take, you know, a major required class, and it's easier to just get the degree at the end, because then even if you don't go to veterinary school, you still have a degree to fall back on, as opposed to, okay, I went to community college, I took all my classes, I can get into vet school. Hypothetically, what if you don't get into vet school in your first try, right? That happens sometimes. So now you don't really have a degree to fall back on, you just have classes. So that's why people say it's easier to just go to a four-year accredited university, get your major, get your degree, and then apply, because you already have all those classes for you listed under your major, if that makes sense. So that was a lot. It was a mouthful. But that's kind of how like it works prior to going to veterinary school. So you're gonna need different classes. Every school requires different things. I'm going to post a picture of this prerequisite sheet, but it can be found on the AVMA website. And it just shows you literally every single vet school, and it has red dots and all the requirements. And if it's an empty box, it's not required. So that kind of helped me a lot to kind of decide where I wanted to go. As y'all know, I chose Virginia, Maryland, but that was partially because of my in-state tuition, and also because of the fact that mostly the in-state tuition, I'm not gonna lie, because it was that, and then it was the fact that I loved their curriculum, and the people were super sweet. But as far as like choosing the veterinary school before actually going to meet the people and see the curriculum, because I didn't know nothing about it, was solely based on in-state tuition. I always knew I wanted to go to Virginia, Maryland, because I knew I would get in-state tuition. And I know that vet school is really expensive. So I was like, well, I got to think strategically here. what vet school is near me, and then we can move from there, right? How long is veterinary school, or how long is school for to be a veterinarian in general, right? Technically, depends. If you choose it depends if you choose the community college route and take your classes, and it depends on if you take the 4-year degree route and get your bachelor's degree. That's what it's called, your bachelor's degree. If you choose the route like I did and take your bachelor's degree and get your bachelor's degree in biology or whatever you choose, animal science, whatever, that's a 4-year process, right? So that's literally 4 years alone. And inserts clip of me here graduating from Towson because I'm proud. And then after that, once you apply to veterinary school is another 4 years. So it's 8 years if you just want your straight DVM. And like I said before, DVM is Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. And that's all you need to practice in the real world to be a veterinarian. Your DVM and your bachelor's degree. That's it. So 8 years to practice as a veterinarian. If you decide that you're in veterinary school, you're like, I really love cardiology, or I really love ophthalmology or dermatology. Those are all specialties. Specialties require more school. Like, so if you want to be a veterinary cardiologist, you get paid the big bucks, of course, because a regular veterinarian got to refer their animals to you. But they also, Pluto's doing some weird stuff. But veterinary, if you decide you want to be a cardiologist, that's an additional maybe 4 years after that. So that's what, 12 years of school, which is a lot. And it's a commitment, and some people choose that commitment. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, me on the other hand, I love ophthalmology as much as the next person. That's one of my favorite specialties, ophthalmology. And that's eyes, if you guys don't know that. But that's basically how the eyes work, eye diseases, ulcers, all that good stuff. I fell in love with ophthalmology during Cincinnati, which was my last unit in my first year. But going back to school, it don't really sit right with me, so I don't think it's giving that. But if you wanted to, it's just more school afterwards. So sometimes that's even a 2-year residency and 2 years trying to practice. It gets messy in that department. I don't really know too much about it because I don't want to do a specialty. But people who do, it's just more school after, school. It's like a never-ending school at this point. Now, we're going to talk about experience and what if you are just like, well, okay, Jalea, I love animals, but like, how do I get in the door? Like, what do I do? This was something I really struggled with a lot, and I didn't know what to do. So I'm going to talk about my first job. It was 5 minutes away from my house, and I remember I came home from school for the summer or something from Towson. It was like maybe my sophomore year, and I was like, yo, I just need to work. And I want to work in my field. I'm tired. I used to work at like J.C. Penney's, or like I worked at Dress Barn when they were still in business. It's like, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. Or like, you want to do something in your field, right? So I'm like, dang, what am I going to do? I literally picked up the phone. I Googled like how, like, nearby veterinary clinics. I just Googled it. Like, what's nearby? Let me see what's in the area. Because I didn't have a car. I was a sophomore in college. I didn't even have a car. So I was going to have to be relying on my parents to take me to work. So I wanted it to be convenient for them. It's close by. It's not far. And I came across a place called All Paws. I'm not gonna cry, but like, that's so sentimental. I came across a place called All Paws Veterinary Center, and I called, and I just said, hey, like, I'm a college student. I'm a sophomore, but I have a real love for veterinary medicine, and I just want to know if you guys have any openings, or can I just leave my resume, something for the doctor. I didn't know at the time it was a private practice. I thought it was company based. I thought it was like a big company, but it was just a private practice ran by my doctor. I was like, yeah, I just want to work. Like, I can start anywhere. If you guys need me just sweep floors, I can clean kennels, like whatever y'all need, receptionist, I can do it. I've done a lot of it before. So I remember I talked to my old manager, Shannon, and she was watching this. Hi, Shannon. I miss you so much. So I called, and Shannon was like, oh, like, you can come in right now. You can have an interview right now. I said, interview? Wait, I didn't prepare for this interview. She's like, yeah, just bring your resume. And you can talk to the doctor, and he might hire you. So you can come in right now. I'm like, oh, let me talk to my mom and see if she could drop me off, and let me print out my resume. It was very spur of the moment, right? So I go in there, I meet my doctor, who's super cool, Dr. A, and yeah, and he was like, okay, well, he was like, you gotta get rid of that nose piercing, because that's how he is. You gotta get rid of that nose piercing. I was like, I'm not getting my nose piercing. But he was like, you can start tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? Wow, this is... So I say all that to say, you don't know what the situation is until you just put yourself out there. So getting experiences, you need to just call around, sell yourself. Like, this is your career, this is your life. You gotta sell yourself. Like, I called around to, and that before I even called All Pause, this wasn't my first place I called. I called numerous places, and they were like, "Oh, we're not hiring. Oh, we're this, over that." I just didn't let it deter me, because I was like, well, I know I want to be in vet med, right? And nobody's telling me how to do this. I'm just like, well, ain't nobody telling me nothing, so I gotta take matters into my own hands. And God worked out the rest, right? So I say all that to say, if you want to put yourself out there, you need experiences. Call around, get diverse experiences. Work in a farm, which is something I didn't even do. I didn't know I needed diverse experiences prior to applying to vet school. So work with farm animals, work with cows, work with horses, work with pigs, work with chickens. Then, you know, you want to work with your clinical practices, your dog cat settings. Maybe you even want to dabble in exotics, like you want to do hamsters, rabbits, and guinea pigs, work at an exotics clinic. Like, you just, or even if you're not working, you can still volunteer, you can still shadow. It's still experience, right? That's still some type of experience. You've still seen something, right? So don't hesitate to call around and ask people, like, what are y'all doing? Like, can I get in on this type of thing? Like, it's nothing wrong with that. And the worst they can tell you is no. And if you say no, it's like, well, thank you for your time, I appreciate everything, and move on to the next person. Like, it's nothing major about it, but you can do it. So don't think that you don't know where to start. It just takes all it starts with is a phone call. That's it. Experience is super important, because the vet schools want to see that you know something prior to getting here. They want to see that you've handled, you know, a dog or cat. They want to see that you've seen at least a cow or a horse, because not everybody lives in a rural area. So it's just kind of making sure your experiences are diverse. You can even get volunteer opportunities at the zoo. Like, I swear, you can get volunteer opportunities at the zoo. You may not be touching a lion now, but you can still, you know, do like, sometimes they have those big days where everybody comes and the zoo's like 50% off. You can volunteer to do ticket sales. That's still volunteering at a zoo. You can meet doctors there, and they may let you shadow them for the day. Like, you don't know what experience you can get until you just ask. The next important thing, I think, is networking and relationships with people that are already in vet med before you actually get into vet med. So if your friend got an uncle who's a vet, you should talk to him and, you know, just say, hey, like, I'm friends with, you know, your niece or whatever. I don't know. But I'm friends with your niece, and I want to be in vet med. Can you help me figure it out? Are you able to be my mentor? To just kind of help me get there along the way. You know, something like that. It's something, that's all you kind of need to kind of get started. It's just a mentor or somebody who's willing to just put some time in for you. I'm not saying they gotta talk to you every single day, because it's not that kind of vibe. We are busy, but we can still reach out. So with that being said, a little tidbit for a second. I have a link in my bio on my Instagram, my VetMed Instagram, where I'm gonna leave it open to just questions from pre-vet students, high school students, prospective students, whatever it is that wants to know about Virginia, Maryland. Like, anything you guys need, I want to be a resource to you. I am in school, like I said, I'm super busy, very busy, but I will still try to make the time and reach out to you, or make a small reel or video or TikTok, whatever, about your questions, so that way other people might have the same question as you. So if you go to my Instagram, I'm going to put a picture right here. If you go on my Instagram, click the link in my bio. It should be a link tree, and I don't know what it's going to say yet because I haven't made it, but you'll see the link. It should be the second link under my YouTube channel, and then you should see the link, and you can ask questions any time of the day. It'll be open, and I'll get to them as I can when I'm not stressed out about exams. I want to be a resource for you guys, because I didn't have a mentor. Nobody ever told me anything. I swear it was me and God. We did this together. Like, nobody helped me out. So I want to be a resource to everybody else who wants to get into vet med, doesn't know, because sometimes it's a little like hush hush, like if you don't say nothing, you don't know nothing kind of vibe. I'm not that girl. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that my peoples get in, because if y'all want to do it, I'm gonna make sure y'all get into it. We all eat out this joint. Okay, it's not one person eating alone. That's not how that works. Community's important, so I'm gonna make sure that if y'all need help, I got y'all. I guess next I'm gonna talk about, I'm almost done, kind of, not really, and it's already at 19 minutes. So basically, the skills necessary to stay in vet med. That's a hard one to talk about, because the skills required to stay in vet med vary. I will say the first thing that's important is determination. And you need that before you get into vet school. You need it in undergrad. Honestly, for some people, you need it in high school, because school is hard. It's not fun. I don't even like being in school sometimes. I really just want my life and just want to do whatever I want. But this career has to be built some kind of way. My family gotta eat, I gotta eat, we gotta eat. So I gotta make sure that my P's and Q's and my ducks are lined up, so that way I'm able to provide what I need to. And determination is really key. Like, Remembering the vision, me and my friends last night, we made vision boards. Yeah, because you gotta keep yourself motivated, because it's hard. There's people, I wish I could tell y'all how many times I've heard from advisors, how I've heard from mentors, you're not gonna get in. You have a 3.0 GPA, you're not getting into vet school. You got a C in organic chemistry, you're not getting into vet school. Oh no. I heard all of that, and and that's the way God works, right? I love when people talk down on me or tell me I'm not going to do something, because I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it 10 times harder because you just told me I wasn't going to do it. And guess who did it? God did it, but I did too. We did it together. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I'm telling you to like brush off them haters and do what you need to do. I think the second skill set necessary is, well, I mean, I guess they go hand in hand, perseverance. Like, don't give up. And that's kind of what I've already said, because vet med does get hard. Sometimes you don't get accepted your first try. And I was very much prepared to not get accepted my first try, because people had told me you can never do that. Right? It's so rare. It's so hard to get into vet school. Like, and it is. It is that hard. But if I didn't get in, I would have tried again. If I didn't get in, I would have tried again. If I didn't get in, I would try. I would kept trying, because that's what I wanted to do. Didn't matter. You could have told me no 400 times. I'm still applying, because it's something I wanted. It's something I really, really cared about. I've always loved animals, and I wanted to be a veterinarian. And then physically, I think it's important to stay in shape, because sometimes, like, when you're running around, I'm not gonna lie, when you gotta lift up 50-pound dogs, like, you feel like you're in the gym, like, pumping dogs every day. There's a physical risk of getting scratched. I have wounds. I don't know if y'all see that. That was from a dog. And first of all, you would think it's from a cat. That was from a Shih Tzu, okay? Not even a big dog. They just be doing too much. That's why I don't like Shih Tzus. I have literal battle wounds. And you will get battle wounds if you choose vet med. Next thing is kind of like a situational type of topic. So it's my junior year of undergrad, right? I'm a junior. I keep saying 11th grade, but that's like high school. But I'm in my junior year of undergrad. When do I apply to vet school? If I already am in school and I'm getting my degree, when do I apply? And if I got most of my requirements for vet school, when would I apply? So this is where we're going to talk about the Vetcast cycle. The Vetcast cycle is open every year. It's actually about to close tomorrow for class of 2028, which is 2023, 2024. Didn't know that. Thought it closed a little later. I think mine closed a little later. Sometimes the deadlines do vary, but pretty much Vetcast applications open usually January of every year, mid-January, in January of every year, and it's open all the way until September. Mid to late September. And pretty much you get that whole time period from January to September to work on your application. You will want to start applying your third year of undergrad if you want to get in straight after, or to give you the chances of getting in straight after. You will want to do that your third year, or when most of your classes are done but you still have like a semester or two worth of classes left. That's when you want to apply. And then they'll even on the application, they'll tell you, oh, what classes have you completed? What classes are you currently completing? And that way they'll know you have all your prerequisites by the time you get out. And then when you get out, you have to submit your GPA to them, to Vetcast, as your final, like, I'm done with everything. Here's my GPA. That's your final submission of your GPA, and it's not going to change anymore because you are done with classes. When I was an undergrad, I applied for, I wanted to get in exactly when I got out of school. So I got out in 2026. I got out in 2022, right? That's when I graduated last year. And I told myself, okay, I'm going to start applying for vet school summer 2021, because the application is open from January 2021 to September 2021. So you could really start in January if you wanted to. You could start filling in what you can, because really the only thing that's open in January, I think, is like the background information about yourself and your main personal statement that is on every application that you submit to any school. It's going to be on there. That's open, and like different categories of the application open up at different times. So it starts in January. You can fill out what you can in January. Then the rest of it opens up like April, May. You can finish that, and then you have till September to complete it, if that makes sense. I'm going to take this time to also talk about a gap year. Because sometimes, what if somebody says, school, the last 4 years of school have burnt me out, or the last couple classes I took burnt me out. I can't go straight into vet school right after I get out of school. I just can't. I need a break. Valid. You don't always have to, like, go straight into school after you get out of school. You can take a gap year. And gap years, I think, are probably essential. I didn't take one. And I honestly sometimes wish I did, because mentally, I think I'm more over school than I was before I got here. Because, like, I came straight from undergrad to vet school. So I did 4 straight to another 4. Like, I don't get no break in between, which is not a bad thing. it's just a lot of continuation. So if you have a gap year, you can spend that gap year working, getting more experience before you apply the next year, right? You could spend that time working. You could spend it doing internships. You could spend it networking. You could spend your gap year. You could spend your gap year working at McDonald's if you wanted to. It really don't matter, especially if you already have all your experience down to pat. You don't have to wait for any of that. It's just personal preference, I think. Me personally, the reason why I didn't do a gap year was because I was like, when I get out of school, I'm gonna be 26. I'm already 23. I just don't want to be in school till I'm 30. Like, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like, I want to live my life and still have a little bit of my 20s left. So I went straight through. The components of the application, there's totally, it's a lot of like processes to the application, but they're gonna ask you about your experience, which is why I really harped on experience back in the previous like comments. Prerequisites, which I already covered. You're going to spend time doing your classes, getting your prereqs, taking your biochems, taking your organic chemistries, which I hated organic chemistry. But please also know that I'm going to give a little disclaimer out to all my people out there. If you are struggling right now with orgo, let me tell you something. You don't really use it. Like, you use it, but you don't. The only time you really use organic chemistry is when you're learning about maybe drug interactions. But even then, a lot of my professors don't go into the details of drug interactions. They don't talk about it. They just be like, drug interactions. That's the only time you really gonna need organic chemistry. So don't freak out. Do enough to pass. Your girl, me, organic chemistry 1, I got a C+. And I didn't care. I was proud of, because I really was failing the whole time. So I was proud of my C+. Don't think that grades are everything. They're important to get in. A lot of schools, like, grades are not the only thing they look at. They look at other things in your history, who you are as a person. When you do interviews, you're gonna like do all of that. So don't stress about grades. It's important, but it's not. Some schools require what's called GRE, which is called the Graduate Records Exam. My Virginia, Maryland does not require it. I don't know if that's changed, but I don't think they require GRE. Tuskegee, which I did apply to, they did require GRE, which is why I took the GRE. My GRE scores are normal. Like it's like, to me, GRE is like SAT for graduate school, if that makes sense. It's like SAT. It's very generic. It's nothing specific on there about vet med. It's very reading, math, writing. Like, it's that kind of vibe. So I wouldn't stress it out too much. But it is expensive. I think when I paid for the GRE, it might have been close to $200. It's expensive. So if you can avoid it and you don't want to apply to schools that require GRE, you don't have to. Just personal preference. You do take away some of your chances of getting into other schools if you take away the test of GRE. And the last one is personal essays. And I will make a whole video dedicated to that because that's long. If you guys want more in-depth details about the application process of Vetcast, I will gladly make another video for that. Of the Vetcast application, right? I'm not gonna lie with y'all, it blew me out of house and home when I did it, and I was hurt. I was physically hurt when I did it. But the reason why it's so expensive is because you're paying for the application to be sent to multiple schools. I applied to 5 schools. I applied to Tuskegee, Virginia, Maryland. I applied to LIU, I applied to Florida University, UF, and I applied to one more that I'm blanking on right now. Oh, no, I was gonna apply to NC State, but I don't think I did. Oh, I applied to UPenn. The more schools you apply to, the more your cost of applications increase. I think I ended up paying between $500 and $700 for my Vetcast application. And out of my 5 schools, I got into 2. I got into Tuskegee and Virginia, Maryland. But I did not get into LIU, I did not get into UPenn, and I did not get into UF. The next is like a situational type of topic, and it says, I got an interview or I didn't get an interview. What happens at that point? So once you submit your application, they will tell you, thank you so much for submitting your application. Thank you for paying us $1 million. Your schools will contact you with further information. That's basically what they say. Because usually once you get email from Vetcast, you get email from the school saying, thank you, we received your application. We'll be in contact during this time. Here's the deadlines you should expect. If you don't get an interview from your schools, it's sad. And I'm sorry that you didn't get an interview, and it does hurt. Once they sent out the information about, if you got an email yesterday, you got an interview. If you didn't, well, sorry. Sorry about that. I was sad. And when May kept rolling back to back, I think I got UPenn first, then I got UF. And I was having a panic because I made my best friend read the email. Like, read it. She said, Talia. I was like, ah! I was so sad. Because I really did want to go to UF. If you didn't get an interview, you know, out of any of your schools that you applied to, what that means, get off me Pluto. What that means is try again. Don't give up. Like, keep trying, because your time is coming. Just because it's not now, just because it wasn't then, doesn't mean give up on the whole dream and throw it away. It means try again, because you got this far. So don't give up. And if you got an interview, congratulations. do your best on your interviews. I can do another video about interviews and how to be like interview etiquette, how to sell yourself. We can do a whole thing like that. I first off just want to thank y'all so much for tuning into my channel because it means a lot to me. I had one of my subscribers, if you're watching this, I don't know your name, but I'm gonna ask you next time I see you. I saw one of my subscribers and he was just like, oh my god, you have a YouTube channel, I love your content. This is why I do stuff like this, because moments like that mean the world to me. So he was so great. Like, I love him and he doesn't even know it. And this is why I do that, because I want you guys to really have people to help you. I didn't have anybody, and I wish somebody said something to me. I wish somebody was just like, yo, like, Jalea, like, you gotta do this, I got your back. Like, nobody was doing that for me. I had advisors tell me I wasn't getting in. So I'm gonna make sure y'all eat. At the end of the day, we all gonna eat at this table. It's not just a one-man show. There's a million veterinarians in the world, and there's still a veterinary shortage. So if you want to go to vet school, or if you don't want to work in a regular boring GP and you want to do pathology, or you want to do zoo medicine, or you want to do farm animal, I'm literally in class with half these people. So if y'all need resources, I will connect you to resources. That's not a problem for me. Thank y'all for watching this video. I'm gonna see you guys will see more content from me. It's more on the way. I already have my next vlog lined up. I just gotta get some clearance by my vet school before I post it. So thank y'all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.